Last Thursday in New Mexico, there was a school shooting that led to two students being killed, as well as the shooter himself. Now, this happened last Thursday. I only found out about this today. I think many people in America only found out about this particular school shooting today because I did some research trying to find information from last week or the weekend about this, and I found an article on people.com, and that was pretty much it. And we're gonna give you details about the person because actually a lot of information about this particular shooter has come out, and maybe we can figure out why it is that this wasn't exactly burning up the news over the course of last weekend. So this person who went in and shot up the school frequented alt-right websites and forums, sometimes posting under names like Adam Lanza or the incredibly subtle future mass shooter, often writing messages that glorified school shootings. In fact, there is a forum effective paper trail going back for 5 years where he has consistently glorified mass shootings in general and school shootings in particular, ends up committing a school shooting, a mass shooting. In 2016, he posted a comment online asking where he can buy a cheap assault rifle. That was enough for the FBI to visit him. The FBI, unfortunately, though, said that he was cooperative and enjoyed trolling on the internet. And look, we've got a lot of information about some of the things that this person said. Like many people who frequent these alt-right websites, just says that he just likes riling people up on the internet. Just likes trying to see, he likes to shock people, likes to play with their sensitivities and all that. Also wanted to murder people for years. And look, there's comments in these posts about cultural decay and hedonism, use of the N-word, attacks on LGBT community, all that. This is a person who is just absolutely terrible and had a huge trail going back where you could see this activity. In fact, he was so reprehensible in some of his views that these extremist white supremacist websites, he was banned from some of their forums because he was going a step too far even for them. And the thing is, it seems like this guy who had lots of problems, lots of terrible views, found websites on the internet that radicalized him. And eventually, by talking to people about shooting, he was able to find a gun and then committed this act. And we've got a quote from Ryan Lenz of the Southern Poverty Law Center who says, "What we found with these ideologies is that they repeatedly lead to violence. There's a dual line of radicalization happening. To steep yourself in daily storm or rhetoric," that's a white supremacist neo-Nazi website, "and the sites like it is to put yourself in the headspace of where the violence is when, not if." And there's still people attempting to defend this person. But what's interesting is this person who very clearly we know not just exactly where he was radicalized, but all of his views in detail. Not one reference to a foreign terrorist group that he never met with or anything like that, but a multi-year history of radicalization. And yet it took a week for this to start to spread out outside of a people.com article in the wake of a shooting that literally killed people. After all, I mean, there was the attempted pipe bombing in New York in the last week, which rightfully got a lot of news coverage, but nobody even died in that. This guy literally killed people, and that was his goal.
Radical whiteness is killing more people than radical Islam.
And radical ignorance is allowing it to continue.
Right. Yeah. Why won't they call it by its name? Okay, so let's break down a couple more things here. One of the things that he was upset about was, quote, bleak career prospects. That's right. So, and he wandered around going, and he said, quote, "I was born into a literal dystopia." Well, in a lot of ways, that's what America's become. It's very hard to get a job, and if you do get a job, it's minimum wage, and national minimum wage gets you $15,000 a year, which is almost nothing, right? So,
but to be fair, though, he referenced it being a dystopia because he saw gay people in line at a store.
No, both. He talked about how he's being crushed and has no prospects. And then he blamed the dirty N words and the F words and all the other things.
But I will say, and I know that we have a disagreement about this, and no amount of studies are really going to change that. But Vox has a great analysis just out today of new surveys of millennial Trump supporters that show definitively that what predicted Trump support amongst millennials is racial resentment. It's not economic anxiety. In fact, they show that racial resentment, even controlling for education, employment status, all of that predicts economic anxiety. That they develop those feelings in the wake of racial resentment. It doesn't lead to racial resentment, it is a product of it. You hate the other, and then that starts to affect how you view them economically.
And when you have a mouthpiece who is someone who clearly has racial resentment himself of his predecessor and allows this to go on without being challenged, then it's the perfect storm. I hate to use that cliche, but it really, everything came together perfectly for that.
And look, without getting sidetracked in that debate, I think that these reinforce each other, right? So, oh, I'm in bad shape. Why am I in bad shape? Because of those sons of bitches. Maybe you thought they were sons of bitches to begin with, and then you look at your life and go, my life's terrible. Why? Not because of the powerful that set the laws and the rules, but because of the other guy who's also suffering.
Right, because employment in black communities is so great.
Yeah, blacks have all the power in the country, right? Undocumented immigrants, they walk in and they go, all right, where do I go in to cash my power?
Right, you can't even cut your finger if you're undocumented.
Yeah. So now, another part of this story is the media reaction. So you wonder why their bigotry sometimes gets confirmed for people. So Trump says it, yes, and that's a huge part of it, and some people already believed it, and when Trump, a person in power, says it, it gets further confirmed. But when the media has a alt-right shooter, blip, and then we're done with it. And when you have a Muslim shooter, bomber, whatever, okay, look, I don't mind the giant brouhaha, okay, as you should. I mean, brouhaha is the wrong word. Giant, concern. Yeah. I got family in New York. I got friends in New York. I got a lot of concern. Michael has friends and family in New York. We got a lot of concern when we hear there's a bomber in New York, right?
Yeah.
But we also have a lot of concern when there is an alt-right bomber in the middle of Kansas, and they're planning to blow up an apartment building. Another story that got almost no coverage. And these guys, etc. You should have an equal concern. But when you don't, and when the media de-emphasizes this and quadruple emphasizes the other one, it makes everybody go, come on, what are you, crazy? It's obviously the Muslims. I turned on my TV and they told me it was the Muslims. Right. And now in reality, right-wing extremism causes twice as many terrorist acts in America as Muslims. Extremism. They're both real, they should both be combated. But if you turn on your TV, would anyone think that? No, they think the Muslims are the problem.
Of course not. And look, let alone you, but I know that so me and JR, this we saw this today. We both had it today. We canvassed so many places to find news and we didn't see it for 4 or 5 days. To slip past both of us, let alone you, that's not easy. That takes almost like a willful act from the media to not have picked up on this. I mean, people died.
Yeah, but that's because we're so used to mass shooters, and that's part of it.
Yeah, that's true.
As long as they're white, though. As long as they're white.
Yes.
If he was Muslim, do you think nobody would have picked it up? Come on, even you don't believe that. No matter who you are, you
Sean
don't believe
Hannity
that.
would be doing a special Facebook Live broadcast about it.
And Trump would have tweeted about it already. Okay,
He'd have gone down there.
Now, another layer to this: the FBI. First of all, wonderful job figuring out this guy might be a problem. So credit where credit is due, and I've given the FBI a lot of credit in cases like this. The media might not be paying attention, but the FBI actually does a decent job of tracking right-wing terrorism.
They're in tatters, Cenk. They're in tatters.
Yeah.
Well, they have been defunded for this sort of investigation. We know that under Trump.
Right, but when some of the right-wing came out when Trump criticized the FBI and said, oh, if they're political, then we should ignore what they said. And people who worked at the FBI said, are you nuts? At least 2/3 of the FBI agents are deeply conservative. And so if you start saying, if you have a political opinion, it's a delegitimate investigation, that will let the liberals get away with anything they want. Because they can say, oh my God, these FBI agents are all conservative. So now-
I think Trey Gowdy might have a political feeling.
Yeah. Now in this particular case, I'm not trying to get on the agent. They did a good job of tracking the guy down in the first place. But so they came in, they see a white guy who says, oh, I'm just kidding around on the internet. If they saw a Muslim guy who was threatening to kill all these people, and he said, oh, don't worry, I'm just kidding.
I'm just trolling.
You're right. Do you think that the FBI walks out and goes, oh, no, he's just kidding, it's okay. Mohammed's just having fun on the internet. Maybe, but probably not, right? And I don't want him to think that because sometimes it's serious, right? Which leads to my final point on this, which is these guys constantly say, the alt-right and the white nationalists and the right wing online, etc. Oh man, what are you guys getting all upset about when we use the N-word and we tell you how terrible black people are, how stupid they are, how they're criminals, and say with the freaking Latinos and the Muslims, and we hate them so much. What are you guys, we're just kidding around, man. What are you guys, and we say we're gonna kill them and we're gonna do all these things. We're just kidding, we're just kidding. No. some of you are kidding, and that's a terrible way to kid, and you're a piece of crap if you do that. Oh, I'm just having fun by trying to really ruin other people's lives and ruin their self-esteem. That's so much fun for me. Okay, you're a terrible person.
And his friend defended him in this case. His friend said that I didn't think he was enough of a moron to do this, but he did say some edgy things, but he said him on both sides, something like that he said.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what you were just saying, Cenk. I mean, you can't just say, "No, I didn't really mean it." Nobody can say that.
And even if the bigger percentage of these alt-right guys, and I hope the bigger percentage are not going to do anything. They're just terrible people that like to, attack other people for fun. Okay, and if you think that's like, oh, they're good guys, man. They like to try to ruin other people's lives for fun. Okay, fine, whatever. Then you're a terrible person. But that's fine. That's freedom of speech. You get to do it. You're a bad person, but you get to do it. But if you say, no, none of them are gonna do anything bad, even though they hate all these people and they keep talking about violence on top of violence on top of violence, you're wrong. A certain percentage of them, you're gonna be shocked to find out, are not mentally fit. That they're not all there, right? And they're looking for glory like this kid was. He's like, the guys who commit suicide by themselves don't get any media coverage. The ones that murder other people get all the glory. So I want some of that glory. Yeah, they're losers. They're total losers. That's why they're so angry at the rest of the world. They're so angry at anyone who might succeed, who they view as above them. That's why they want to try to put them below them. And then when they threaten violence, a certain percentage will commit it. So it does matter. If you're threatening violence online, it matters and it should be investigated. What you just watched was one of the videos that we do today, but we actually do a whole 2-hour show every single day. It's a podcast. You could watch it in video or listen to it as audio. You can download it, you can stream it, and you get it completely ad-free if you could become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.